Now ex-boyfriend and I were visiting his parents. We live about 5 hours away from them and didn't visit often. Mother-in-law asked me to cook dinner for her and father-in-law for their anniversary that evening, instead of going out to eat. Father-in-law had recently had surgery and was still recovering a bit, so they preferred not to go out when possible. I love cooking, so happily obliged. I asked what she would like me to make, and she said she wanted the following: lemon pepper tuna steak, maple bacon glazed Brussels sprouts, mashed potatoes with beef gravy, spinach salad with blackberries and warm bacon dressing. I was more than happy to make all of this. She said she would take us to the grocery store so that we could get fresh ingredients. At checkout, the total came to around $130 because mother-in-law bought a bunch of groceries for the fridge that we needed to stock up on. Dinner items came out to about $60. Either way, the stuff I needed to make dinner was less than half of the total cost. When I didn't get my wallet out, mother-in-law stood there staring and said something along the lines of, "There's a lot of people in line behind us. Better hurry up and pay." I told her I agreed to cook dinner, not pay for $130 of groceries. Again, most of which weren't even for the dinner I was about to cook. In hindsight, I could have just offered to pay for my part of the dinner items, but did not do this at the time. Mother-in-law sighed extremely loudly and asked why I wanted to be such a stingy brat when I had such a good job. She said I was ruining her anniversary and that she couldn't afford this many groceries at once. I again repeated that she asked me to cook dinner, not buy $130 of groceries. She said that paying for this was part of her anniversary gift and that it was just the right thing to do. Am I the a-hole for not paying for all of this? Should I have just ponied up and paid for the lot? For what it's worth, the dinner turned out amazing. Mother-in-law and father-in-law even fought over who would get the last Brussels sprout. Not the a-hole. First, you were asked to cook a 5-star meal. They decided on the menu and asked for your substantial expertise and time. That alone is a pretty amazing gift. They did not ask you to supply the ingredients. That your mother-in-law expected you to pick up the bill, not just for the ingredients, which were pretty extravagant, without asking beforehand, but also additional groceries, is tacky. Did her son help out at all? She's offended because you didn't pay for her groceries in addition to all the time you were putting into preparing the meal. Talk about entitled. Plus, dictating a gift is a total a-hole move in general. Not the a-hole. The person receiving the gift doesn't decide what you give them. She doesn't get to declare that you paying the cost is part of the gift. You were giving your time, your labor, and an experience to them. Seems kind of moot at the end of the day, as they clearly had a great meal and therefore it wasn't ruined in the first place. Not the a-hole. Your mother-in-law is trying to get a free week of groceries from you. She probably believed you would be embarrassed to say no to paying her grocery bill. I, male 24, got engaged New Year's Day in 2019. My fiancée, female 24, and I were going to wait and save up and get married this spring, but we decided to fast-track the wedding to September 2019. It was less than a month before the wedding, and my parents still had not confirmed their travel plans from Idaho to Colorado. They had not paid for a single thing for the wedding. Our one request, and my parents agreed to it early on, was help paying for our photographer. My dad ended up asking my grandparents for a loan to help. When I called my dad to try to understand what was going on, things boiled over. He said he wasn't sure how my family's going to afford traveling to the wedding, but they'd make it work. This was 20 days out. I told him how we were already disappointed that they weren't helping us, and it was hard for me to understand how my wife and I managed to pony up 10 grand for the wedding, but he wasn't contributing at all. My dad responded saying it was a hard year for them financially, and they hadn't planned on the wedding being so soon, and his tone was angry and defensive. This is the point where I made it worse and said, "Well, I know it's been tight, but it was in your control and your choices have consequences. I wish you would have made choices over the years so you could support me now, but you didn't, and now I don't even know if I can afford to make it." Those financial challenges my dad was talking about were 1. A cruise they overspent on, and 2. My parents tried to breed their dog for a quick cash grab, and it backfired, and they lost the mom and had to bottle feed the puppies. My dad exploded at me. At one point said, "Duck you, my family does not swear," and then he hung up on me. I texted him I'm not okay with him talking to me that way, but wanted to resolve things. He replied via text and said, quote, "Screw your sense of dignity and respect, you arrogant piece of crap. How dare you speak to me in such a condescending way? I'm done with you." My family did make the wedding, but it was really awkward. My dad has never apologized for the hurtful things he said. It's Father's Day soon and we still don't talk. I know being confronted with your money problems is never easy, but it nearly ruined my wedding. My wife still feels distant from my parents because of the whole mess. Thing is, I still wonder if I should have never said anything in the first place. Normally, I would just shake my head, but in that moment, I was so hurt that my parents make short-sighted money decisions, and it feels like they've forgotten I exist since I moved out. The least I wanted was for them to call and be involved in the planning, but they never checked in that year, which made me feel like they didn't care about this important and special event for me. So, am I the a-hole for confronting my dad about his money habits because of how it was negatively affecting me? Yes, the a-hole, completely. You guys decided to fast-track the wedding. You also have a sense of entitlement that they should have been paying something towards it for you. Your choices have consequences as well, dude. Now you have to deal with them. Yes, the a-hole. He doesn't owe you anything for your own wedding. If you couldn't afford it yourself, you should have either downsized or thought about ways to save money on it. You sound like an entitled jerk. Yes, the a-hole. Parents are not obligated to pay for weddings. Whatever the reasoning for not having money to contribute doesn't matter. If anything, you should have offered to pay for them to travel to the wedding. My mom didn't pay a cent for my wedding or the travel there. I took care of everything because she's taken care of me my whole life. Call your dad and apologize, and hope he forgives you. I'm 32 female, and work at a company where I tend to be in the office with like 25 people every day. Rebecca in my office just came back from maternity leave. We all did the required song and dance about how we're so happy for her and all that sappy BS. I don't work very often with Rebecca, but I'm depending on her for approval on a long-term project. So I went into her office to ask her for a timeline, since she's back. She's been back 4 weeks. Instead of talking to me about the project, she started showing me baby pictures. I kept saying, "Hey, so about the project," and "That's great, I'm so happy for you, but can we get back to the project?" and stuff like that. She just kept shoving pictures of her kid at me. Eventually, someone else came in and the whole thing started up again. Finally done with the dog and pony show, I stood up and said, "Hey, Rebecca, I'm kind of waiting on you for final approval on this marketing push. Can we please get back to work?" She started to duck and cry and ran out of the office yelling about how I'm so mean and how hard it is to be away from her baby, and can I please just give her a break? I just stood there like, what the duck, dude? The woman who came in and interrupted us is glaring at me all meanly and said, "Wow, I bet you're real proud of yourself." I was just like, I'm here to get my job done, not look at pictures of someone's kid. She sneered at me and stomped off and complained to my boss, who said I should try to be more understanding and compassionate. I told him that I was being compassionate. I've been waiting for a ducking week for Rebecca to get her crap together. Am I the a-hole? In my opinion, not the a-hole. You played her game, you looked at her brat pics and tried to get back on task. She's been back 4 weeks and she's avoiding the project, or she would have answered you when you've pushed on it. I'd email her and CC supervisor, manager, and requesting the info you need. Do the obligatory part, then move on to the actual work. It's good to have you back, and I'm sorry if I upset you the other day. I'm sure it's hard to be thrown back into work so quickly. I'm at X point with this project, and in order to move forward, I'd be grateful if you could Y. The project deadline is Z. Many thanks. All of the above, except do not apologize. First of all, you have nothing to apologize for. You're at work, not a 4-week baby shower. Second, apologizing will put you in the role of a penitent, bad guy, for some imaginary social slight when your context here is work, not social. If you need her approval on the project, you need her approval on the project. There's no way around it, and therefore seeking it out after she's been at work for several weeks is nothing you need to apologize for. Also, not the a-hole. If she's been back to work for 4 weeks, not the a-hole. She should have adjusted enough by now to not react like this, and to be able to do actual work while at work. Still, in terms of office dynamics, your coworkers might think you suck. New moms and babies still get way too much focus at work. Hi all. Am I the a-hole for not letting 2-year-old niece see my pony? I feel like such a jerk for not letting her, but I had an operation about 3 weeks ago, and while it was minor, I'm still not up to riding, mucking out, etc. For a little background, he is generally gentle around children, knowing he has to be good, but he is very much a stallion in all but testicular capacity. He was cut twice and still has very high testosterone levels. He can easily forget his manners and needs to be reminded because he thinks he is anything but 400 kilograms and will body slam you if he does. The staff are wonderful with him on the yard, treating him as I do, knowing what he is, and he gets away with nothing. It's been a long road, but he now leads nicely, has stable manners, and is a lovely ridden pony. That said, he can still have off days when he is an absolute toad, but who can't? Anyway, sister-in-law wants to bring my niece up to see him. I am very nervous about it because she is 2. Her mom would be there, and she throws massive tantrums if she is told no. Her mother allows this behavior because she is using something called toddler-led learning. I don't know, I'm child-free. I don't feel that she would understand that loud noises can startle horses, or if she was doing something dangerous that I might have to tell her sharply off. She first met him at a couple of months old. Her mother held her up to his face and let her kick him, which I promptly asked her not to do, and was met with the response, "She likes to feel with her feet." A look of restraint on the pony's face was amazing, and he remained very patient. While we were talking, her mother said I could give her lessons on him. Big old no. He's not a riding school pony by any stretch. And surely I can find her a hat to ride in. When I said no, she said, well, she can ride without one. Bigger no. I had an accident from this pony a couple of years ago where I basically bifurcated my hat. I said she needs to go to a riding school if she wants to start with horses, but they can't afford it apparently. I am certainly not providing free lessons. All the PPE and pony that wouldn't be insured if she was riding him. Am I being a massive a-hole? Not the a-hole. You are protecting your pony, your niece, and yourself. Your sister sounds as if she is creating a monster, by the way. My horses are big and very gentle, but I would say a big fat no to any toddler-led learning around them too. Not the a-hole. The mother sounds pretty entitled if she thinks she should just be allowed free access to your horse, because she thinks it's okay, and to suggest riding without a hat. Hell no. She clearly doesn't know enough about equines for this to be safe or fair for your horse. You're doing right by him. Also, 2 is very young to be wanting lessons. Most places near me won't even allow kids under 4. Not the a-hole. I feel sorry for you, but you're doing the right thing. You seem to care more about your niece than her own mother. You're doing the absolute right thing. A 2-year-old girl riding a sometimes rough stallion is a big no-no. Taking responsibility for someone else's kid is dangerous in itself. Plus, if your niece gets hurt, it'll be a bigger problem and you'll be blamed. Relax. You did nothing wrong. I plan to go on a holiday with her best friend and their significant other, from here called A and B. When we broke up, I contacted A asking for her bank details to cover my quarter of the hotel room. We were all sharing. In the original plan, X and I were driving to and from the hotel, 11-plus-hour drive to another country, while A and B were flying there and driving back with us. With that in mind, I offered to split the cost of their flight back if my ex decided not to go on the holiday, since I was partly responsible for them needing to book another flight. A few days later, my ex calls to square up some money I owe her from across the relationship, just shy of $1,500. I kept my own records. When she quotes an amount closer to $2,000, I asked about the difference, and she says A still hasn't had all the money for the holiday. I explained that I've already paid my share and that anything else left towards the holiday is her responsibility, not mine. X says that since I'm the one who broke up with her, I should pay our half and not my quarter. We broke up because of irreconcilable differences between our plans for the future. Marriage, kids, where to live, etc. So I think it should be split equally between us, and that we should be covering the additional costs of A and B's flights, since they had nothing to do with it. Edit 1. I wasn't clear about the $500 that covers solely her part of the room and some booked activities. The flights for A and B haven't been booked yet, and to date, I've only offered, since they haven't given me a bill. I've not actually paid for a flight yet. Edit 2. The original plan always had her paying her own share. Edit 3. God, I'm bad at this. While I do think my ex should pony for the flights if she doesn't end up going, I didn't mention that to A and B, only that I would pay for one. There's really no reason for her not to go. It wasn't a romantic trip, and I've already discussed with A that she could pay me back if another person sleeps in my bed. Not the a-hole. No, you don't need to pay her share of a holiday. You are not together anymore and it's not your responsibility. You paid your share in a timely manner, and that's it. Not the a-hole. And honestly, it's nice of you to pay for part of their plane tickets home. Edit. I don't think the reason for breaking up have any bearing on who pays what, unless you were originally going to be paying her share, and now she is in a bind and unable to pay. Yes, the a-hole. Only, but only because your generosity here is very misplaced. If you can't afford to reimburse your ex for the canceled vacation, then it makes no sense to turn around and pay for her friends' flights. And volunteering her to split the cost of their flights is incredibly presumptuous. Look at this from your ex's perspective. She just got dumped. She's missing out on an anticipated vacation. She's losing hundreds of dollars on said vacation. And you're asking her to spend hundreds more on her friends' flights. No wonder she's feeling upset.